Hey, and welcome to another episode of the Set the Stage on Fire podcast with me, Michael Sinhuber, and powered by PRESENTER.WORLD. Today's guest is Daniel Mangena, and I'm going to jump right into it because Dan will do his introduction himself. So, Dan, the stage is yours.
Well, I'm Daniel Mangena. I'm Dreamer CEO, and I empower people to create new lives through the vehicle of making new choices. And through my tool, Beyond Intention, I help them to break free of the stuck states, the loops, and the energy traps that disallow them in their mind to make those new choices. And through those new choices, create the new outcomes that result in a brand new life.
All right. Oh, this wasn't even 30 seconds, I guess. That's great.
They say it's an elevator pitch.
Yeah, thank you for the definition, because I just wanted to say, do an elevator pitch. So we're in an elevator together and you tell me what you do. So basically it's all about changing people from where they are now to where they want to be. Maybe they don't even know where they want to go, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
So So basically, for my one-to-one coaching, I do some work with helping people find where they want to go. But I kind of prefer people that already say, I kind of know I want this, and then we refine that, and then we work towards it, as opposed to people that kind of don't know anything. People that don't know anything, we work with those in our workshops. I prefer to do that in a group setting to give them the tools to find where they want. My book, The Dreamer's Manifesto, is designed to get people to that place where they have at least an idea. Because the thing is, when you do more work internally and you're doing more work, you do more research and you're spending time in the world, that idea of what you think may change. I mean, for many years, I thought I knew what I wanted to be, and I was very clear on that. But as life evolved, I had new experiences, I met new people, I grew in wisdom and experience. That picture changed. And as that picture changed, I went with the flow and I continued to develop through it. Okay,
so you say you're working with people that already know that they want to change something. So maybe people that say I'm kind of stuck, stuck in the moment and don't know how to get out of it. And right, is it that?
Yeah, we work with those people.
And then you mentioned the word dream.
Yes.
You have that in some of your products or even in your company name.
Yeah.
So how does the dream how is the dream part of what do you do?
Okay, so my tagline, my slogan is "Dream with your eyes open," and that has a couple of meanings. The main meaning that I invite people to consider is this: we have these dreams, we have these ideas, we have this vision, we have this passion, but it's all very well and good. It's here in our brain. But to dream with your eyes open means to live it, to be it, to take action. Because theory is beautiful, but theory doesn't bring results. It's actions that bring results. So that's the one level. The other thing is that for me, when I use the term dream, and this is what I describe in my manifesto, it's not the idea that we have when we're sleeping. It's the calling that's within us. In my book, The Dreamer's Manifesto, I invite people to look at two things. Number one, when you procrastinate in your life, what do you procrastinate towards? What pulls you when you're not really thinking, you're kind of just opening with the flow? What are you drawn to? And when people don't really have an idea on that, I say, go back to when you're a child. When you're a child, what did you always want to play? When you were playing make-believe, did you want to play the doctor? Did you want to be the soldier? Did you always want to be the president? And when you're playing with your friends, was there something that called you? Go back to that. And in those things, you will find some breadcrumbs that will carry you to your purpose, what you're here for. Not necessarily that thing. I had an example I used in my book was sometimes people always wanted to play the doctor when they're a kid. It's doctors and nurses, they always want to be the doctor. So they think that's what they want to be. So they go through school, they do chemistry, biology, physics and maths, and they go to medical school and they do 7 years and they do their residency. They get to 31, they're burnt out and they're unhappy. That's because they didn't want to be a doctor. They wanted to serve and help and heal people. Mm-hmm. So it's not necessarily that has to be done through the field of medicine, but the helping and the healing was what called them. So one of the things I invite people to do with my coaching is to consider that, yes, they may have caught the dream, but have they necessarily caught the correct purpose from that? And although I'm not a purpose finding coach, I don't help people find their purpose. I have some great purpose finding coaches around me that I work with and I bring in to help our clients and stuff. But for me, it's identifying that you have a purpose. And when you have the purpose, you come back to me and we say, okay, now you know your purpose. What do we do with it? Because a purpose in and of itself, knowing your purpose doesn't mean anything. Mm-hmm. I can know that my purpose is to make perfect presentations to help people with change. But if I'm sitting on the sofa watching Friends and TV all day,
and Netflix and all that stuff.
Netflix, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So I have a lot of people, or when I open my social media accounts or something, I have a lot of people that kind of go crazy when they see those quotes, those motivational quotes that are all about what you just told me. And I see all of them, or a lot of them, like they're liking this like crazy and everybody, and then even sharing it. And I know, when I know those people in person, that they don't live by that.
Which is what Dream with Your Eyes Open is all about. It's stop clicking the tweet, stop liking it on Facebook, and start bloody living it for yourself.
Yeah.
Take action to actually live it in your own life.
Okay, that's awesome. So because it also resonates, and it's always like when we're talking, it's always like, how does that fit into presentation communication, to what I say, save the world from boring whatever. It's always like, people ask me, how can I, or I started answering questions on Quora, for example. And when I see the questions that people ask there, it's like, how do I give a good presentation? I mean, nobody will ask like, how do I play golf? Everybody knows that you need a golf teacher, you need a pro, and then you need a lot of practice. And then he's a coach, kind of, he tells you on how you could do things, but you have to find your own way. And this is what I say. And then I get back to him and say, you are asking the wrong questions. You have to like step back and say like, what is your purpose? What is the intention of all this? And actually, so this is how what you do connects to what I do. And this is great. I love that. So what is the why behind? Because there's this book or this saying from Simon Sinek, and he always said, start with why. So what is your why behind what you are doing?
See, for me, I had so Beyond Intention, the tool that I use, it came to me. I had a very deep, dark experience when I came to the point of suicidal depression. I wanted to kill myself. The only reason why I didn't is because I didn't think that I could successfully do it. I actually overanalyzed myself.
Oh my God.
It's
Sorry
hilarious.
For laughing about it.
It's funny. I can laugh about it now. But this was back in 2008. And so I'd already been doing visualization, goal setting, positive thinking, and I've been doing it for years. I've created a lot through it. And then for a period of about, I'd say, year and a half, it stopped working. And in that period that it stopped working, my life turned to absolute poo. And I got to the point where I thought I had no way out. There was no opportunity, no chance, no choice. And I literally thought there was nothing left for me. And in the darkness of that experience, Beyond Intention was born. Step one, accept, was born in that experience. And so as over the next, I'd say 10 years, I used it myself to pull myself out of that place, to create a life that I actually enjoyed. And I supported friends and family and other close people who came to me for advice and support, using this tool to help them to bring changes. And for about, for probably 8 out of those 10 years, I was working on a book. I never finished it. My perfectionism kicks in. Oh, it's not right. It's not perfect. And then about last year, May, I stepped into meditation and spiritual practice. And then the final pieces of the puzzle fell into place for me. And then since the end of last year, I've had this really deep calling that what I was doing in the world of business wasn't really resonating with me anymore. And what was really resonating with me, my experience had changed me as a person. And what I really wanted to do was actually empower people through this and other great tools to actually have that experience of aligning. Because I had many great years doing exactly what I wanted to do. It's just that as life changed and my experience changed, what I wanted to do and what resonated with me shifted as well. And I thankfully listened to the calling to move with that shift. But a lot of people are living in sadness. They're living in depression in some instances. Some of them are living in a state of being where they're relying on addictions to drink alcohol and other things to numb the pain of not living in alignment with what actually brings them joy. Mm-hmm. And from that, Dream With Your Eyes Open was born. And the idea that if more people were just living in alignment with who they are, then the world will be a much happier place. But doing that isn't easy. And Beyond Intention is a tool that enables them to actually do that. So for me, it's a calling. I was in the middle of a walking meditation in the mountains of New Mexico, just outside Santa Fe. And it hit me like a lightning bolt. This is exactly what you're supposed to be doing. I had this clear vision of my life and what I should be doing. And the joy that I felt from it is now what I get to actually experience every day. I would do this for free. If nobody paid me a penny and you said, you have to do this for the rest of your life and you're not going to be paid for it, but you have to do it, I'd be excited still to do it.
So this is what we would call a calling, right? If you say like, I would do it for free,
yeah,
but yeah.
Yeah, it's a calling for me. It's a calling for me.
That's awesome. So, who you talked about? I heard one word, and it kind of struck me. Like you said, my perfectionism kicked in.
Yeah.
So, how do you deal with that? Because actually, me myself, I'm a terrible overthinker, and I call it perfectionism. But on the other hand, I once read a quote where it said perfectionism is just a fear of being judged from the wrong people, maybe. Yeah. And being judged is also one thing that people are often afraid of, or is often a reason for the fear of public speaking. Because they say like, my worst fear is not to step on the stage, but to get questions from the audience, maybe asking me things that I was like, I'm sorry, I don't know that. Yeah, but exactly. I'm the expert on stage, so I should know that. And I was like, no, you don't have to know that. You don't have to know everything. So just say like, okay, I have to look that up, and I'm gonna get back to you on the phone via email or whatever. So there are a lot of different things, but perfectionism is one of those things. So how do you deal with that, or how did you get rid of it, or how did you overcome?
I didn't get rid of it. I work with it, and this is one of the things that I teach with my clients. It's Beyond Intention is about seeing things in the truth of what they are, and then making the conscious choice to take action to shift it to what you want to be. So some people say, oh, positive thinking is seeing everything rosy. No, that's naivety and putting your head in the sand. You have to see it for its ugliness. But the important thing is you do that in the empowered state of knowing that it doesn't have to be ugly forever. So when I feel this come up, I don't suppress it. I don't resist it, because what we resist persists. If I try to resist it, that feeling is just going to stay. I have to acknowledge it, but I acknowledge it in a state where I know it can change. Because moment to moment, we have new opportunities to make new choices, to create new futures. Time is an illusion. The only thing that exists is the now. So in this now, I say, okay, I'm feeling resistance to taking this action. Why? It's because I want it to be perfect. Okay, I want it to be perfect. Why? I challenge the thought. I don't allow the thoughts to run ragged like a pet in the house, just doing poo everywhere and eating the carpet and eating the... I say, okay, this is me. I am my mind. I decide which of these thoughts sit and which ones don't. And I've decided this one is not going to sit. I'm going to challenge it. And so I go through it and I say, okay, is it because I'm scared of what people are going to ask me? And then I ask myself, okay, so what? And when I get into a state where I get stuck, I've got some really cool tools. One of them is when I have these silly thoughts about, people are going to ask me questions and I feel the fear, I close my eyes, I create a movie theater and I put the scene on the big screen. And I visualize, okay, I'm standing in front of these people and they ask me a question and I see myself, I imagine I'm sitting in the audience watching it on a screen. Sometimes I eat popcorn, sometimes I eat candy, and I make it really real. And on the screen, I put silly hats on people. So I put a silly hat on myself. I'll make the person asking me the question a clown face. I'll make them naked. I'll do all these silly things. And then what that does is subconsciously, I make it ridiculous that I'm scared about this situation. And one thing I always teach is this works for me. It may work for some people. Other people may need another tool to minimize the pressure of the situation. But the number one thing that everyone has to do is A, get back in the driving seat of your thoughts, and B, challenge them. Don't allow them to sit, because thoughts will keep coming. I still get the feeling about being perfectionist. I still get the the temptation to procrastinate, because really perfectionism it's an excuse to procrastinate. That's what we're doing. We're creating this excuse not to do things, right? It's our subconscious mind. It doesn't want to take this action for whatever reason. So we say, oh, it has to be, it's not perfect yet. Blah, blah, blah. It's,
I need to do this and that. And that's
ready.
It's like, and so on and so forth. And then it's like, and then 5 months have gone over, and then like, okay, I'm still at the same point where I was like 5 months ago. And nothing changed. And I mean, when I think back at my story, it was actually I was overthinking things like putting up new platforms or things like that in the last 2 or 3 years like crazy. But when I started doing out this business that I'm doing now with all the presentation stuff, I had one story where a guy asked me and said like, "Can you do a Prezi training?" And I was like, who would need a Prezi training? Because actually Prezi is kind of self-explanatory, and you can take some tutorials on YouTube or whatever, and it takes 10 minutes to know how it's working. And he says, yeah, we're putting together like a platform for further education and all those the courses of all topics and so on. So like, yeah, okay, let's do that. So two days later, after it went live, I got calls from 2 big companies in Austria, and from a big insurance company, actually was the first one. And she said like, I want to join this training, but I can make it on that date. So are there other dates planned? And I was like, no, not yet. But how many people would you be in your company? Is it only you, or are there? Yeah, we would be interested. Like 4 or 5 of us would be interested. And I said like, okay, let's do a company training. And she's like, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's do that. And I was like, shit, I just sold a product that I don't even have. So that's how I started. Like, not overthinking, just asking a question. She said like, yeah. And then she said, yeah, send me an offer. And I was like, oh my God, shit. So what should I charge for that? I didn't know how much to charge for. I didn't know what to do with them in a day workshop. But I just did it. And then I was asking some people, said like, hey, what could you charge for a 1-day workshop? And they said, yeah, this and that. So what I did like 6 or 7 years ago, it was just, I just took action. And the more I got into the business, I was like, oh, if I do this now, they see me as kind of an expert. I have to, everything that I do has to be perfect, because they would see like I'm the expert, and I'm not doing it like an expert should do it. Then it was like, okay, he's not an expert. So I was kind of putting pressure on me, like perfect, or everything needs to be perfect. And then what you do is you lose your authentic self. And this is where authenticity kicks back in. And so, but this actually, so what you said about perfectionism, this is really, so many people need to learn that things are never perfect, no matter how long you work on it. So you just go out and start doing it, and then develop and get better. And this is true for so many different things. So yeah, that's awesome. So perfectionism is one of those challenges that I guess a lot of people have. And
just challenge it. When people challenge it, they often find that it's bullshit. It's not real. A lot of these things, these fears that we have, these beliefs that we have, the second that you put it under the light of consciousness, of actually looking at it, you often find that its substance disappears or shifts completely. When you challenge it, that's why journaling is so beautiful for me, because when I have these thoughts, I write it down. And when I have to look at it in reality, I have to see it for just how ridiculous it is, And that's often what my role as a coach. I mean, for me, a coach's role is to bring the best out of their client, right? And often a really simple way to do that is just to ask them to say it out loud. Say it out loud. Okay, now let's follow that through to its ultimate truth. Let's really take this to the nth degree, unpack it completely. And often they get to the end and they're like, yeah, you're right. What was I thinking? They get this aha moment, but they need the light of someone outside to shine it on them.
That's actually challenging things or challenging thoughts is what we do when we are kids, right? Because kids are always asking why. So why is the sky blue? And I mean, they can ask 100 why questions, and that's what you do. And actually, this is when the light bulbs go up, and like, oh my God, this is all not that crazy. It's all not that hard. You can go over it. It's not that. So what is the word? When I read a book, I don't know the English name, but it's like, he always said, like, what is the worst thing that could happen if that happens? What you say, what you have fear of. And then when you accept the worst thing that can happen, in around 90% of the cases, it doesn't happen at all. So it never happens the way that you fear about it. And this is actually what helped me a lot when going forward. So how important in your business or in what you do is good communication, presentation, speaking? So let's say on a scale from 1 to 10, how would you say how important it is when 10 is the highest?
It's got to be 10. Because if I don't communicate properly, they're not going to get the message. If they're not going to get the message, they're not going to see the change. And for me, my work isn't so much about the money. If it was about the money, I would have stayed doing what I was doing before. I did very, very well to come and start a brand new business and help people and stuff. And I give a lot of my stuff away for free. Anyone that follows my Facebook page or follows me on Instagram, Twitter, my podcast, I give free coaching and stuff away a lot. To be honest, I kind of sell myself short. You could probably see a massive amount of change just by watching my free content without even needing to pay me, right? But communicating that message across is fundamental. I mean, you know as well as I do, we only have a few seconds to catch somebody's attention. So when I put up a Facebook Live, for example, or a video on Facebook or YouTube, unless I catch you in the first few seconds, flick to the next thing. The attention span of people nowadays is so low because there's so much content coming to us from every angle. So for me, the ability to keep them engaged and to present the information in a way that they can absorb, and like you said, that matters to them. I can talk about me and my story all day long. This happened and that happened. Who cares?
Yeah.
What do they want? What's their objective? What change do they want to see? And by knowing that and then speaking to that in a way that they can actually care about listening to, they can understand and they can absorb and actually want to not only keep themselves, but to share, very important.
Okay. So how do you find your message? When you say like, okay, now you have your message, you said you were very clear about what it's all about, how you're going. When you kind of do new things, how do you have any kind of step-by-step idea or plan on how to condense that core message from all your content?
So what I tend to do is, I believe simplicity is key. And so I aim to keep things bite-sized and deliverable. And because I know my message, I live my message. So this isn't like some theory that I came up with. This is from my own experience. And then through my own experience, I've started collecting clients, and through their experiences, I get more tangible evidence. For example, how you can affect change in your life, why you're probably not seeing change in your life, what's going on with your relationship to the people in your life. I have my own experience with my clients, and I take the truth, the common truth. One of the things I teach about is common denominator theory, and that there will always be a common thread through things. And I take that common thread because that common thread is going to resonate with the most people. All the extra stuff, yeah, that's great, but the common thread. And when I take that common thread, I then speak to the truth of that common thread from my experience, because that truth is something that people resonate with when I'm speaking. And then I just speak to how they can connect with it too. And I do that with very simple things at a time. If someone does like one of my online programs or whatever, they'll see I cover a lot of content, but I aim in each session to address one thing at a time so it can be absorbed. And again, I speak from the truth of my own experience, and then use the evidence and experience of clients and stuff to solidify and to evidence what I'm saying to be true.
Okay, so kind of you start with what's in it for them. So why should they care?
Yes.
Kind of this is what one point, and then everything in really small bites and juices so that they can get that, think about it, and then you do the next steps. So not 10 things like to show how intelligent you are or how big your knowledge is, just like small tiny bits and then walk them kind of through a story, like an experience and so on and so forth. Right? Okay, great. That's an awesome way to do it. So, now that you have found this, what was the start? How did it all start for you? Like you said, like you had this kind of epiphany for your purpose, but when you started doing this purpose, okay, you said if you know the purpose, then this is nice, but it's just the first step. So how did you get from there to where you are now?
First and foremost, I structured a plan for what I wanted, and then I got advice from people that knew more than me. So I knew that a podcast was probably going to be a part of it, because I like to talk and people can normally connect with me. And I've also known from my own experience, and now has been evidenced even with how people connect with me, that when I'm just speaking, I've got an outline. Like I said, I know my truth. I know my message. I've lived it. So it's not that I don't have to read from the script, because I know it. You can put me on the stage and say, speak about this in Beyond Intention, and I'll be able to do it, because I know my truth. The skill of the delivery is something that I've practiced, learned, and I train in, I get coached on, because that's very, very important to have the skill of delivery. But I made a plan. And then when I made a plan, I got advice from people that know better than me. And then I didn't waste time. I just did it. So if anyone listens to my podcast, they'll see that my very, very first podcast episode is called Hello, I Guess, because I realized that I'd been procrastinating for 6 months about starting the podcast. Then I looked into it. I found Anchor, just like you. I found Anchor. I did my research into it. I saw how to use it. I listened to people that do podcasts. I listened to podcasts, saw what they were about. I saw which ones I liked, what they consisted of. I then connected that with me. And when I had that, I was procrastinating. And as soon as I identified this, the minute that I realized I was procrastinating, I already had my introduction audio. I had the exit audio. I had all my artwork done. I had everything, but I was procrastinating. So I just literally picked up my phone and I just recorded. I didn't think about it. I just did it. I did a very random first podcast, and I made the commitment publicly. I know it's very important to know yourself. I've identified from the 4 tendencies, I'm an upholder. So I'm an obliger. So as an obliger, if I have an outside person looking at me, then I'm going to meet the expectation. And so I knew if I make the commitment live there on the podcast, hey, this is Dan, this is my first podcast. I'm going to be here every Sunday. I'm going to be here on Tuesdays and Fridays. Then I'm going to do it.
Yeah, you have to do it, because you brought it out publicly.
Brought it out publicly. But that works for me. That's not everybody.
Yeah.
Some people, they may have a different personality type whereby they can make a public announcement and they won't care. It's about knowing yourself, what works for you. But for me, I know if I make a public declaration, I'm going to do it. I challenged my feelings. The second that I knew that I was procrastinating, I didn't waste time. I didn't think about it. I picked up my phone there and then, and I made a podcast on Anchor, and I made the commitment. Simple.
That's awesome. Because actually, this is when you do things like whatever you do, when you take the step, when you take the action, then suddenly things happen. Like people afterwards say like, yeah, he was lucky because he was there in the right situation with the right people around him and something like that. But actually what happens if you do things, then you get like that, then you become lucky because people see that, people resonate with that, people react on that. And then it's like everything's going its own way. So it's always a matter of taking this first step. And it's actually true for everything in life, right? So
different people have different concepts and ideas and belief systems about the way reality works. But I've always been I've always agreed with ancient wisdom. And what I love is that science now is cementing what we pick up from ancient wisdom. And one of the things that was always said before is that, it's about energy, it's about vibrations. And science is now showing through quantum physics and the quantum model that everything that we experience as physical matter really is just energy. And it's an energy that responds to will. And the fact of the matter is, when we take action, we're making a commitment, we're creating a path to walk down. And when we consistently keep making actions in that way, we're basically unfolding our reality in alignment with those actions. Just the same way when we make inaction, our energy, our vibration is of inaction, nothing really happens.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't happen. You know, when we're actively making a commitment, we're creating a path, we're forging a path, and we're inviting whatever thing you call it, whether it's energy, if you're looking at it from a scientific perspective, if it's God, if you're some kind of religion, or the universe, if you're more into spiritualism, you literally invite all of those forces to work with you. You're saying, hey, I'm showing up, I'm here, I'm taking the action, I'm going, follow me. And it does happen, it follows on.
And if you take this action and you get the energy, you get more energy for yourself.
Yes.
And you get energy from others, right?
Yes.
And the more you do, the more energy will come.
Yes.
Because I saw that in some, or so let's say in some parts of my life, like when I was in the army, which you have to do in Austria, and 6 months out of this 8 months, I was doing kind of nothing. So like I just went there, and then I said like, okay, we have to wait until 4 in the afternoon, and then you can go home again. So if you do nothing, you would suppose that you would be full of energy because it didn't take you a lot of energy to do nothing all day long. But in fact, I was tired as hell every day when I went out there. It was like, oh my God, doing nothing is so exhausting. And then again, when you do things, like have passion for things, and then it's like, yeah, I just found like you said, I found my purpose, and then this gets me up. And even if I would do that for free, it's like, whoa, I would explode because I love to do that. Then this gives you energy, and the energy spreads around, and everybody's like, whoa, what is this? I mean, I love this, and then everything and then is when luck kicks in, that people come to you and say like, yeah, I want to work with you, and then they say like, okay, he was just sitting in the right place. No, he's not. He just took the right action, right?
You know, they say an overnight success takes 10 years.
Yeah. That pretty much sums it up. Yeah.
They don't see what happens behind the scenes, you know. Yeah. People don't see the work. I mean, people look at me now and say, oh, Daniel, you're always so happy, you're always so positive. Yeah, because I put the work in to do that. And I love your life. You say you love it now in its finished form, but are you ready to pay the price that I paid? They say, oh, you're always in different countries, you're always doing this stuff, you're always having fun and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, because, you know, this overnight success was 10 years in the making. Beyond intention, I had to go through facing the darkest thing that someone can face in their living experience in order to give birth to this. Had I not gone through that, I wouldn't have this to share. I wouldn't have had that experience. And oftentimes people, they look and they say this luck. Luck is something that you make, and it's something that comes from taking opportunity. There's a great parable in the book The Richest Man in Babylon by George S. Clason, which is a book of it's parables around finances and becoming rich. And one of the parables is about luck. And he invited us to consider that everyone that was lucky really just took an opportunity that came to them at some point. And yes, those opportunities would be different from person to person. For one person, it might be the opportunity to find the love of their life. For another person, it might be the opportunity to make $1 billion. But that opportunity came. There was a point in time when a choice was made to go one way or the other. And going a particular way resulted in what we call luck.
Yeah, definitely. So this pretty much sums it up in the perfect way. So I hope that this will kind of inspire people to do that, because I mean, there's always this, what you're talking about is a lot of, what do you say, like stepping out of your own comfort zone, right?
Yeah, like recognizing that you have to.
All the magic happens beyond your comfort zone and all of that stuff. So everybody's like, yeah, I like that. That's good. But nobody's good. And then it's sitting around on your couch. It's like, yeah, maybe tomorrow, maybe next week, maybe next month. And it's the same is true with the New Year's resolutions. So why are New Year's resolutions? Nobody, it's like, yeah, New Year, and now I do it. And
I don't make New Year's. I don't do it. Because every moment is a New Year's resolution. Every day, every moment, every week, every month. I don't wait until January to make a New Year's resolution. I challenge my life every day. I challenge my script every day, and I make new choices every day to create the life that I want every single day, not just New Year's. And that's why people normally fail, because they don't just take little steps all the time towards the life that they want.
So when you say you challenge it every day, how do you make sure that you don't kind of overdo that? Like, say you took a decision yesterday and you took some steps to make that happen, and then maybe on the way you think like, maybe it's not the best choice, maybe I should do it differently. So how do you make sure that you're not like spreading like your ideas and like leaving the path because you have so many different thoughts and choices? How do you do that?
It's very important to have a clear macro intention for your life. It's very important to have a clear like your book. Your life is a book, but you have to know the title on the front page before you start deciding what the chapters are going to be. So I know what my book is called. I know what my life macro intention is. It's very clear. It's written in a sentence. I read it over at least once a week. I sit and I look at it and I see my life as I want it to be. And I didn't just come up with that. I took the time to sit down. What brings me happy? What brings me joy? What is my core truth? What things ephemerally, but at my root, when I go back to my dream, what is in alignment with that? And I write that. And I only check that once a week. And once a week, I make sure that I'm still in tune with that. But what I do every day is I make sure that everything I'm doing is in alignment with that purpose. And I do that with heart intelligence. I check my feeling. How do I feel about it? So the practical steps, yeah. But when I say I challenge it, I mean, I challenge, am I still in alignment with it? Is that still my truth? That's what I do. I don't, that hasn't worked, so I'm not going to do that anymore. No, you have to give things a chance to breathe. You have to give things a chance to play out. But I see how I feel about it every day. That's what I do.
Okay. Awesome. Sounds great. So this would help me as well. So it's always good to hear some things and to learn from others as well. So what would be a tip for somebody who says, yeah, actually I already know what my purpose is, or I have passion about something, but I don't know, I'm afraid of doing it. I'm afraid of being judged. So what would be that one tip or the first step you would tell somebody to break free of that?
Okay, I'd say if they're feeling really adventurous and they know that they have the staying power for 30 days, if they're not sure, they know they don't really have staying power, for 7 days, every day do one small thing in the direction of that purpose. Whether it's making a phone call, whether it's reading an article, whether it's listening to a blog, whether it's connecting with someone, or even signing up for something. Every day do one small thing in the direction of it for 7 days. And at the end of days, look back at it and journal what you're doing. Journal your experience for 7 days, just 7 days. And at the end of the 7 days, look back at where you started and where you are, and you'll see you've made some forward motion. And if you're journaling about it and connecting with the feeling of that, you'll have more of that energy for moving the direction of it. And that will inspire you to do another 7 days or do 14 days. And then do 14 days, 14 things in the direction of it. And over that time, your vision will get more clear. You'll start to connect with people. You start seeing things show up. And at the end of 30 days of doing that, you'll see that you're a big jump from where you started. And when you see that progress, you'd have to be a fool not to want to continue that and take more action. So just start something small, 7 days, 7 small things, not big tasks, not I'm going to have my website and have 1,000 people on Facebook. It could be, I'm just going to buy my domain name. It could be, I'm just going to look on Instagram and see if my handle is taken yet. Not necessarily even start the account, but just do something. It could be that I'm going to follow 2 inspirational people. I'm going to watch a 5-minute talk on YouTube. I'm going to listen to a podcast of someone in my field that I can learn from. Something very small. Half an hour a day, 15 minutes for 7 days. And after that, reflect back, make note of how you feel, and then go another 7 or 14 days. But just do that for 30 days, but in small chunks, little commitments.
And the reason behind that is that it's giving you, that achieving that will kind of give you small success steps that will motivate you to take it further, right?
Yes. And also you a lot of the times the resistance that we feel is from our subconscious mind. But when you take little steps, you almost sneak like a little ninja behind your subconscious mind, past the resistance. And that's what you're doing.
That's great. Because actually, when you say baby steps or small steps, it's even when I get back to presentations, it's often that people come to me and say like, yeah, I have a presentation coming up next week and I have 400 people in the audience. I have never talked in front of such an audience before. Mm-hmm. So they say, okay, so what is the biggest audience you have ever had in front of you? Yeah, it's a meeting room of 5 people. So yeah. If you want to go to a 300, 400 people, you should take baby steps, like stand up in a meeting, do a meeting, do like maybe 30 people or 50 or 100 and then go up. But it doesn't wonder me. So that somebody is like, okay, now I have to do a TED talk and there are 1,000 people in the, yeah, if you've never done 100 people talk, maybe 1,000 is a bit heavy. So like, and there's a great comedy show I saw on Netflix. Actually, it's called Mrs. Maisel. Do you know that?
Okay.
She's a comedian. Well, actually, her husband was a comedian, and he was like starting out in small clubs, and he wasn't good, but she was good. So the whole story is about changing from that she was a lot funnier than he was. Yeah. But what it says about presentation is they all started in really, really small clubs. Like they were in a club and this is like, can I have the 8 p.m. session or the 10 p.m. session? Because actually those are the best times. And this is like, if you have 6 p.m. or 8 p.m. or 10 p.m., it makes a difference from the quality, how good you are. And this is how they developed. But it was still a club with 20, 30, 40 people. And then it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And this is what I say, like, those like what you say, those baby steps, take step by step by step and then develop. And then you see a success and it's like, okay, they really like that. So maybe I could take the next step. I can take the next step. And it's always like challenging yourself to get to make bigger steps.
Yes.
Yeah, great. So Dan, this was great. Thank you for your time. So to wrap it up, like wrap up in 2 sentences.
Yeah.
If people like weren't listening for the last 30, 35 minutes, so what would they have missed from our talk?
What they would have missed is that I think just a thing of taking small steps, but doing something, challenging it, and taking on the energy of actually moving forward. I think those are some of the core things I think to take away from here.
Great. And I will also add with one thing that you said before is take advice from other people that you know that are better like you are than you are, because actually this is what really helps you to
everybody that's done something learned from somebody better. Nobody that's achieved anything has done it in and of themselves. They've stood on the shoulders of giants. They've learned from someone else.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. For the ending, just tell people where can they get in touch with you, or I will also put the links in there as well, but just for a short note.
They can come to my website, dreamwithdan.com. They could follow me on Instagram and Twitter, Dreamer CEO, and I'm on Facebook /DMPOTB. But you can search my name on Facebook and there's lots of free stuff on there.
You will always show up.
I'll always show up.
It's the intention to always show up when you Okay, so thank you, Dan, for your time. Have a great day and see you next time.
Next time. Auf Wiedersehen.
Bye. Thank you.